Hello.
Oh, we love you guys too. I'm gonna fly hearts.
So, I hope everybody enjoyed the draw stream that just happened. That's the first one we've ever done. I really liked it. Um, and this this is more of a kind of like condensed thing, a chance for us to have a conversation with the creators behind one comic. Um, and I am blessed to be having a conversation with Kaiju, the team behind Novae. Say hello.
Hi.
Hey, and thank you, Kevin, for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming on. For people who might not know, my name is Kevin. I am a designer at Hiveworks. He him pronouns, and I had the good pleasure of making Novae's site. So
Yeah.
I am excited on multiple levels because I got to look at these pages and look and work with these two artists while I was building everything. But for people who might not know you, Kaiju, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, well, I guess we should do one at a time.
Yeah, okay, you go first.
Well, I'm Kate, and I work with Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen.
And yeah, I guess we both write, we both draw, and I color and Jen inks. That's basically what we do.
Yeah.
I draw the backgrounds, and I draw Raziel and some of the side characters.
Yeah, and I draw Sylvain, and I ink, and
you draw most of the characters.
yes.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do during this conversation is generally touch on like what Novae is about and the process that you guys, that both of you have been going through making it. And I have some questions of my own that I think would be fun. But really, I'm just curious about both of you and how you've been approaching this. But to start, for people who might not know, what is the sort of like really quick pitch or just general summary you give people who have no idea what Novae is?
Should I go? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, I'm sorry if this kind of sounds a little bit mechanic because I have to write it down. We're really bad at giving pitches.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem.
So Novae, so Novae chronicles the romantic adventures of Raziel and Sylvain, a 17th century astronomer and a necromancer. The story starts with the budding love between the two protagonists as they study the cosmos together, and quickly spins into magic, mystery, and murder. Raziel and Sylvain are forced to navigate this tangled web together as their relationship continues to grow.
Yeah.
Yay!
No, that's a really good summary. That's a really good summary. And when you set out to do Novae, both of you, did you know that that's what you wanted to hit? Is this something that came like fully fleshed out of your minds?
And it was definitely like something we did on the by the seat of our pants.
No, that's
Like
awesome.
we just sort of like one day we're like, hey, let's do a crossover. And so we started writing together, and you just kind of let it go where it felt like it needed to go. So like a lot of it is just really unstructured stuff.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I had an interview with Christina Liu from Intercosmic yesterday, and a lot of that comic is built to fit into Christina's life and how she, you know, she likes discovering things as she goes. And the thing that's interesting about Novae is I absolutely can't tell on my end that you are sort of moving as you go. I think that both of you do a really good job of making that very cemented and a very natural path through things. So if you are moving as you go, did you have all the characters in mind? Did you have Sylvain and Raziel both in your heads at the beginning?
Yeah, we definitely had those two for sure. Like, because we just decided, okay, let's have one of your characters and one of my characters interact and then see what happens.
Oh.
And then I guess as the story kind of continued, to realize, oh, we need more characters to make this plot kind of fit together. And so those characters kind of were born in that way just because the story needed them. And then we started getting attached to those characters, and then those characters spun their own stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's just kind of how it happened. But I mean, we go back and we do quite a lot of editing because you know, we were just kind of writing for fun, and you don't always put the right kind of foreshadowing if you need it when you're just, you know, writing by the seat of your pants. So
yeah,
we had to go back and make things kind of fit and make things I guess just flow a little better and make it a little bit more structured so that everything would make sense in the end.
yeah.
And we're still editing it to this day. So
Well, absolutely. And I mean, when you're writing for yourself, you have the benefit of having access to your whole brain. So there are things that you can get away with just not saying because you're just like, oh yeah, of course, I know how magic works in this world. But the reader has no clue if you're showing it to someone else.
yeah.
And I can see
That's something that we
it's something that you what?
Sorry, I was
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. So that's something that we kind of learned because when we first started writing, we weren't really considering the audience very much. And I remember reading like it was a review of, I think it was one of our older works.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, I don't know a lot of what they're talking about. I'm like, oh yeah, because we didn't explain it at all. So that's something we learned how to do later. Like, okay, we need to explain this more. We need to make this more understandable. And not everybody is, you know, has all the plot points in their heads
or lives in our brain.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I think we're still learning that.
Yeah, like it's interesting because like knowing what you need to get across, you know, is kind of part of my job as a designer. Is sometimes I'll be working with someone and they think, you know, for good reason, that you don't need to spell it out. And it's hard to know. I've often asked people the question of, do you need to explain the comic navigation on a comic? And for many readers, that totally makes sense. It's just like a slideshow. Like there's nothing, it's intuitive for a lot of them. But I don't know if like completely new readers understand that. And in the case of Novae, I think you've done a really good job is in conveying like important information through the comic as you read, because it's a very personal story between Sylvain and Raziel. And sorry, I have to check my note because in my brain I keep thinking of them as like Razzie or something. Like I've given them like a pet name for some reason.
We give them pet names too.
So like well, in that case, actually, that's a better question than I was about to say. What are their pet names?
Oh. We call Raziel Oli.
Well, yeah, we just call him Oli now. So we refer to him as Oli. And Sylvain is just Sylvain for now because it's kind of hard to come up with that.
Sometimes we call him Sylvain Poop.
I call him Sylvain Poop.
Oh, that's
I would call
wonderful.
Razioli.
Yeah, because we kept calling him Razioli. And then
Yeah,
it just,
Razioli.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. I see people talking about him as ravioli, and like,
Yeah.
and I also thought Sully. The people in the chat are talking about Sully, but Sully
Yeah,
immediately
yeah.
makes,
Yeah.
Sully's a really good one.
but it immediately makes me think of Monsters Inc. So like, I understand
Yeah,
why you
yeah.
might not want
I
that.
think there's just there's a lot of names associated with Sully, so
It
I
reminds
never
me.
quite got that name attached to Sully for some reason.
I guess it kind of reminds me of the character in Uncharted.
Oh,
as
right.
well.
Oh yeah, that's another good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also like, I mean, both Sully in Monsters Inc. and Sully in Novae are cuddly, but in
Yeah.
different ways.
Yeah.
But like, I think that in the way that you have been building Novae, it's very clear. Uh, it's very clear how things are working. What like information is relevant as we go through, and there are mysteries, but I always feel comfortable knowing that eventually it's probably going to get touched on, because it doesn't feel like anything's being thrown away, or like you two are just like, I'm bored with this, and then like this character just disappears. We don't care anymore. Uh, I think that you're doing a really good job of putting those together.
Oh, thank you.
The so in these streams, this is the final one of all of Hive's Pride streams. And so I have questions about like the queer themes in Novae, if I can ask you about that. And you have
sure.
a couple interesting layers going on in Novae, not just only between Oli and Sylvain, but in the world at large. And you are doing like a historical drama. Do you, when you talk about Novae to other people, when you conceptualize it on yourself, is it historical fiction? Is it like, how are you perceiving it, or like how are you building it?
I guess it's sort of in between historical fiction and what's the other one? Alternative history.
Alternative history,
Yeah.
and there is probably fantasy element
Yeah.
in it as well, and also probably drama. I don't.
Just like as a genre.
Yeah, the genre. Yeah.
But I mean, historically, we try to include a lot of. We try to make it like as accurate as we can, but we're also omitting a lot of stuff as well. So it's just kind of
It's just kind of what?
but it's not the. We have like enough history and like real historical events and real historical figures to make it feel grounded. But it's not really like the major focus. Like,
Got you.
You know, there are certain events that happen during that time, but we're not really going to touch on that because it's not really important to the main plot.
To the narrative of Novae at this point.
Yeah.
So I guess it's sort of like I like having historical elements to make the world feel grounded, but at the same time, I don't want it to get in too much of the way of the narrative that we're planning.
Absolutely.
But it's nice to have them come together in a really nice way where like something coincides with a certain historical event. For example, so Novae takes place about 5 to 6 years before the Affair of the Poisons, in which it's like a historical event in France where many individuals were sentenced based on charges of witchcraft and poisoning that's kind of occurring at court. So the thing is, like, I like it when things kind of lines up in a strange way with what's happening in Novae without giving away too much spoilers.
And that's really cool. Like, it's, I mean, in this field, is it seen to be better if you were closer to like absolute historical accuracy?
I feel like it really depends, because I feel like recently a lot of the TV shows that I've been enjoying, it's kind of like a reimagining of what history was like. Like there's a lot of like personal and creative touches on what history was actually like. So I feel like that makes it feel more exciting for me personally.
Absolutely.
To see like a different take. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I've seen dramas being advertised that are like in the 90s it was like this, and right from the jump I'm like, that's not real. But they're doing it for dramatic effect, and a lot of times it's super effective, and they're doing it for their own reasons. And when it comes to historical drama, I think that is an interesting tension of like, how accurate do you make it? And making sure that it doesn't get in the way of what you're trying to say seems really smart to me. And that's one of the reasons why I like Novae, is that it's definitely, from what I can tell, it's definitely influencing fashion, the way that, like buildings, architecture, like there's a lot of inspirations there. But what you're adding and the story that you're focusing on is so interesting and may not be completely accurate, but it would get in the way, I believe, or it would detract from where you're going. Because myself personally, when a character shows up with spooky skeleton hands, like I am excited. And and that, pulls me in. Now, you two are at a distinct advantage over me because I do not know this period at all. I barely know any history in the past 10 years. So can you tell me, did they have like a different concept of queer back then? Does that influence the writing? Because I know you're also trying to make this accessible to people who are here right now. And that must be a very weird balance.
Yeah.
Can you talk on that for a second?
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think it is really interesting to think about it in historical context, because they just didn't really have a lot of labels or terminology back then. So the way that they view them...
Your audio cut out.
...to themselves. So like...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Can you hear me?
Our
Repeat yourself?
internet is just crazy.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Can you repeat yourself?
Right,
I apologize.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So I think because it's historical, we're really limited in the kind of language we can use to like describe queer identities and things like that. Because they just didn't have those type of labels or this kind of discussion back then. It's very much personal to the characters, how they to describe themselves. So like I think partially because they don't really have that type of language, it becomes more I guess it becomes more difficult to...
More nebulous, maybe?
Yeah.
How they feel about themselves, because there isn't a very concrete definition, or there isn't a lot of terms that could be used as tools
Yeah.
to help you understand yourself better.
Yeah.
But on that note, in history during that time, I do believe the king's brother is
Oh yeah, the king's brother at that time was into men for sure.
yeah.
Interesting.
And I think it was just something that was kind of behind closed doors.
Like the king knew that, and the court knew that about him, and that's why I do believe that France at the time was a little bit more lax.
When it comes to same-sex relationships.
Then when it comes to same-sex relationships.
It still wasn't allowed, but
yeah.
You know, depending on where your connections are in court, they probably will turn a blind eye.
Yeah. So that's like a little bit piece of tiny history.
Interesting. And like one thing, I mean, Sylvain, one of his character moments that you see really quickly is that that he can't speak. He lost the power to speak. And does that factor in as well of like the concept of disability back then?
I guess maybe you should talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, not to put you on the spot. Sorry.
Character.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, it's fine.
But I guess like I consider Sylvain to be differently abled, and I don't think it really affects the way that he interact with the world in like a major way. I do feel like because he is mute, it can make it difficult in certain situations. Like for example, in one of the scenes where Sylvain meets Eve, and he needs to convey things with urgency, but Eve doesn't understand sign language because at the time sign language tends to be like very personal. I mean, I do believe that there might be certain form of sign language that's starting to emerge, like a more universal form that's starting to emerge at that time, but it's still just not very widespread. So I guess so during those situations, so like his friend Vivi would need to translate for him. But most of the time he could communicate by writing. I guess if the person doesn't read, he might have a harder time communicating in that sense. But for the most part, I feel like he interacts with the world fine, you know, with most people.
But it's so cool though. Like I love how I was really struck by how you were using dialogue like balloons, like boxes, and that really clearly got across to me, like, oh, that's Sylvain talking, and how effective it is to address how Sylvain is communicating in those moments. Because in certain sequences we can see, you know, his internal monologue, and then, but for the most part, you know, it's clear that he is writing, and then eventually you can just show those boxes and I know, like, oh, he wrote it and showed it. Like, I don't need to see him holding it up. And that becomes this wonderful shorthand where now I know that if there's ever that box, that is Sylvain communicating in this way. And that's so cool. That's really, really cool. It's one of the many things I like about the comic.
Yay.
Oh, I'm glad that comes across.
No, it totally does. It totally does. And like, if someone doesn't notice it, I think it enriches the experience regardless. And another thing that I've seen in this comic as I've been reading it is that it's not just, even though it's set in Paris, it's not just French culture. Like, there are people from other cultures also appearing. And Sylvain's had experience outside of the country, at least from what I know so far. I don't know what country yet. I don't know if that's like explicitly said later, and I haven't caught up. Sorry, but
That's fine.
it is interesting to see not only this is what was happening in 17th century France, but also this area, like this radius that people would go back then. Was that on purpose? Like how far you wanted to go outside of Paris?
I guess it just kind of relates to the characters. Like the characters have their own arcs. Sylvain had, at this point in the story, has already had a very extensive backstory. So,
Yes.
so he's been a lot of places. He's that's just part of his character. So it made sense to just include it, especially since he spends a lot of time in India and he has a really important story that takes place there. So we definitely had to include that part for sure.
So,
Gotcha.
I mean, while it's not explicitly said, and so he does travel through the Silk Road from India or Hindustan at the time, I believe, into Venice, into Italy, because that's where the Silk Road kind of branches off to. And yeah, so he had a lot of different encounters during that travel. We did show it like a little bit, but we didn't really delve into it like that much.
Yeah. And another thing that I really like about Novae is you two do such a beautiful job with physical things, like objects. And from the first time, I mean, there's a character that's wearing like a really big honking medallion. But before then, I believe the first one I remembered is, I think it's like an ink tray or something on, Ollie's desk, I believe. But the absolutely, and like that okay, cool, we're on the same page, because that I was blown away by, because it very clearly is different than the environment, but is not like exoticized, if that makes sense. It doesn't look like a D&D treasure. And it conveyed to me like y'all are doing some research. And it has such weight to it and everything. It looked magical in some way, in the sense that it was commanding my presence, and I really want to know about it. But I that's just my own little geeky thing of reading, seeing that and just being like, wow, holy crap. Do you do a lot of like research, inspiration sort of folders or anything like that?
I mean, we try to do as much research as we can.
Kate is in charge of all the props.
Yeah.
Because I can't draw props. I can't 3D.
I think props are one of my favorite things to do, because they're just so, I don't know, there's something so fascinating about them. The way that they look and how they their shape and their history behind them. It's just really fun. Like one of the things I really loved drawing was the little incense burner, and we tried to do as much research as we can on it. Like we try to make sure it's in the right time period,
in the right region,
and I think there's like a Pinterest with that the Museum of the Met that the Met made. Ooh. And we kind of go through that sometimes and look through what they have there, and then kind of do some research on it. Like, oh, this looks cool. What is it? You know?
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Like,
like one of the things.
What is one of the things? I want to hear about them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Like one of the things that we kind of just thought, oh, this looks cool. Let's put it in there. And then we researched it, and we're like, oh, it's it goes into the horse's mouth
Oh,
when you're
whoa.
like, I'm like, that does not look like something you'd put in a horse's mouth. Like, it has these like winged sheep, and they're kind of like on either side, and it does not look like something that would be used to like steer a horse around.
Oh my
So I thought,
gosh.
oh, that's so cool. Like, and we just including those type of things is just really fun. And on our Patreon we kind of go more in depth onto what each of the objects is, especially like in Sylvain's room, since he has so much so many things he's collected from his travels and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
Oh, and
awesome.
one little thing about. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I want to hear about
So
this
one little
another
thing
thing.
about the incense burner. It's like shaped like a little birdie or like a little ducky, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I believe in Islamic religion,
Mm-hmm.
you're not allowed to portray living creatures
Mhm.
and make them into like statues or icons
Mhm.
of anything like that. So
I think that one was was created before
that, but I think they take it out sometimes.
Oh yeah.
They
Mhm.
so they take it out. So you would have an incense burner like that in your home, and sometimes you kind of take it out as like a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
To look at it and to like and to admire it and show it to your guests and stuff. I do believe it's somewhere I read that was the case. Yeah.
Oh, whoa. So it's like a board game that everyone doesn't like, or like,
Yeah.
someone bringing out like their PSP and they're afraid of people making fun of them. That's really fascinating. Like I know so little about that. That's so cool.
I mean, I didn't know anything about it until like we kind of read up on it.
Yeah.
It's just like a piece of history.
Yeah.
Back then.
Awesome.
Around the little incense burner.
Awesome. That's wonderful. I am subscribed to a newsletter called Dearest, I think, or Darling, but it's a newsletter where they just show you like interesting objects every so often
that's
in
cool.
an email, and that has been a huge inspiration for me. So I'm definitely like, as soon as I saw that, I zoomed in on that. And before we get into the characters, because character is really important to Novae, this is a very personal story. I want a small sidetrack for my own, because I've been running these streams. This is my guilty pleasure. Who drew that lizard? Like the one that freaked out. Specifically the wide-eyed one. You did? Oh gosh. Thank you so much. That image of like the bulging eye lizard is like absolutely my favorite. It cracked me up.
A lot of people really like that one.
It's so great.
I've seen some people use it for their avatars.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
So happy.
Absolutely. It's like I appreciate the story. I want to know what's going on. Sylvain, what's happening? But also, what's up with that lizard? How's that lizard doing? Are they okay now? But onto the focus of Novae in my mind is the characters, and specifically, it's very clear that the relationship between Sylvain and Ollie is a lot of the driving factor of what's happening here. And even when other things start to bubble up and become more present, it's always an undercurrent, a very strong undercurrent. I am going to be speaking completely out of ignorance because but I am fascinated. Before you started, did you have a bet with yourself of like how long before they kiss?
Well, when we started, we hadn't really intended them to be together. Like we had just thought, okay, fun crossover, two characters interacting, let's see what happens. And they just had such good chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're like, dang, they have good chemistry. Like, why is this working out so well? It just sort of came into the story. Like we didn't even think it was going to happen, but it did.
But I think we did, once we start writing it,
Yeah.
we did plan on them being intimate a lot earlier on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think, and
that's when we went for the first draft.
yeah. And then we decided to kind of have more of a build up and have them know each other a little better before things goes down.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's so interesting because like I'm from a comedy background, so building tension is usually used to like you end it with like a duck appearing and like biting someone or something. Here I was seeing what you were doing and I actually wrote it down as a note because I found it so interesting. It was 114 pages before they kissed. And it made me wonder, like, in the scene of people building these romantic, beautiful stories, is there like a competition to see how long you go before you can have them like kiss?
I guess it's like slow burn if you
Yes. Absolutely. Is there like someone who's like
slow
the master of the slowest burn and everyone's like, oh, we'll get you someday. We'll make a 400-page book and all they do is hold hands. That's it.
I think like specifically we did not want to do that because like, okay, when when you're growing up and you're watching a lot of media and there's a lot of like will they won't they, and then especially a lot of like queer baiting in media,
absolutely, you're right.
You start getting really frustrated if something doesn't start happening.
Yes.
It's like, oh, is this going to be the point where just nothing happens and it's just subtext, so we really wanted to make sure that like, okay, something is going to happen. This is a queer story. This is not, this is not queer baiting.
We're not gonna drag you around and be like, oh, they're just friends, very good friends.
Yeah. Because like that's fascinating to me. Because it seems like an art in the sense that you need to know when the best moment is and what's natural for the characters. And Sylvain and Ollie have their own reasons to not rush, even though they want to. And I saw up to that page 114, you had this economy of touches and like how they touched each other and how they reacted to that. And that I could see that you were doing things on purpose of like, are they comfortable at this point? How do they feel here? And it was so well done and so well paced and felt very natural rather than like, someone tripping over and falling on someone constantly.
Oh yeah.
And I, as someone who doesn't write that way, I was just like, oh, this is really fascinating. And I think you did a fascinating, like a really, really engaging job with it.
Thank you.
Do you,
well,
go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, like, do you, when you're writing, it feels like you both know each of your characters really well, in terms of what they are comfortable with, what they would reflect on in a moment. Are they sort of running the show in terms of like, does it sometimes feel like you turn to Sylvain and be like, so what are you going to do now?
I guess just the way that we write, like I feel like the characters are always the ones who make the decisions
and they probably take center stage.
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever write Sylvain into a situation where he is not comfortable doing certain things. Like, because Sylvain is a demisexual pan romantic, and I mean it's a mouthful, but so the way that he attaches to people tends to be very slowly or through a very emotional connection or event. So I feel like when I'm writing him, I feel like he comes through to me in a way that I guess like I just kind of know what he'll won't as like a writer and as a creator. So with like Sylvain and Oli's relationship, they tend to kind of take a course on their own and bloom more naturally, I guess, according to their characters.
Yeah, I guess I mean, it helps that like we're each writing different characters, so we can kind of like, you'll have one character do something and then the other character will react to that, but you're not sure how the character is going to react. So it helps kind of build that tension because you don't know what the other character is going to do. So you kind of just want to see how they themselves are going to push the relationship forward in that way, I guess.
Absolutely. There's the way in which touch factors really heavily into the story, where even the way that Sylvain will communicate sometimes is by holding Ollie's hand and signing inside the hand and like writing inside the hand, inside Ollie's hand. That's a genius move, by the way. And it reminds me of, have either of you heard of the game Starcrossed?
I'm not that familiar.
Yeah, I don't think it rings any bell.
Totally understood. It's an indie game. It's a role-playing game. And in it, you play two lovers who cannot be together for whatever reason. And you come up with what that is. And the way you play is with a Jenga tower. Which, if you don't know Jenga, it's a lot of interlocking blocks that are equal size and wooden. And in the game of Jenga, you pull out pieces until it falls over. But in this game, you pull out pieces whenever you interact, and if it falls over, you give in to your emotion. Like you give in to your feelings for each other. And then you narrate what happens afterwards. And I was thinking about that a lot while reading this, because there's the way that you draw how Sylvain and Ollie give each other looks, how they touch each other, like what manner they are. The range of expressions that you have in this comic is a lot. Like I now have a better idea of when the difference between Sullivan. It's now locked in my head. I can tell the difference between when Sully's smiling politely and smiling genuinely.
And
that's a lot of work. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Is that something that you've had to work really hard on, where you're like, this isn't communicating exactly the emotion I'm trying to get across?
Oh man, like expressions, oh my gosh. I feel like they're probably the hardest thing to do in the comic. Like I'll be drawing like this really complex cityscape, but then if I have to get the right expression down and I can't get it, it'll just take me hours. Like I just feel like so much of the work that goes into Novae is trying to get the expressions down right. And if it doesn't come across right, I just feel like I just wish I had a little bit more time to get that expression down or something like that, you know? Like, do you feel the same way?
Oh, yeah. Like, I feel like expressions is definitely something I spend a lot of time on.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes it just feels right. I can't really explain it, but I feel like, when I got something down, I'm like, this is the right feel I want to go for. And I think the Jenga comparison was very accurate in Sylvain and Raziel's relationship. I think in many ways it's kind of like Sylvain has his reasons to hold back too.
Mhm.
So it is kind of like, you're tugging and pulling until everything kind of spills over. So I feel like, that's a very good comparison.
I feel like at the point where like Sylvain kind of like his Jenga topples over. I feel like that after they go watch the meteors together.
Yeah.
And like when Raziel is getting very emotional about the relationship, and Sylvain is sort of giving into his feelings because they've been together a long time at that point, like at least a month, maybe a couple months, and they just had a really emotional like date together, and I think Sylvain is really reconsidering what he thinks about the relationship.
And then up until that point, he's actually kind of like holding back.
Yeah.
Most of the time, because it's sort of like he wants this relationship, but he's not 100% sure.
Yeah, because he's, he has a really long past, and I mean, if you catch a lot of the hints in the story, like Sylvain might be a lot older than what he looks, and he may have had previous relationships.
Yep.
And I think those relationships, he gets very attached to people, and if at the end of chapter 4, you see him kind of say goodbye to someone very close to him, and it really broke him. And I feel like that's why he's so reluctant to kind of attach himself to Raziel.
Yeah, and because Novae has a lot of silent moments, I feel like that's why expressions has to be really on point, or it has to convey a lot, because it's not something that, because we don't use words a lot to describe how characters feel. So I feel like we do spend a lot of time on expressions, for sure.
Yeah. It's because like, since we don't have words to say what they're saying, we have to make sure that what is being shown conveys what needs to be said, I guess.
Yeah.
I think you do a fantastic job of it. Like, I got a very clear sense of everyone's interior. To the point that there's a scene later on where he's inspecting something and you give us access to his thoughts. And I realized that I understand why you did it. And I'm not saying this in a critique but like, I kind of had an idea of what he was thinking already without the speech bubbles. Because I had such a good concept of like what he might be thinking. And that's fantastic. Like, I was blown away by that.
Oh, thank you. We're so glad that we were able to pull that through, and you were able to gather that from. Absolutely.
You congratulations, both of you. You did it. So we're coming down to about 10 minutes or so. We can go as long as we want. I'm the one running the stream. So if anybody in the chat wants to give a question, do you two have anything that you want to touch on? Anything that you'd love to talk about Novae? Do you want to give spoilers for things that are coming up?
I'm going through our little notes. Let's see. I have to write everything down because my brain is just
me too.
Of the time.
Me too. Absolutely.
I guess we can talk about a little bit of the world of Novae, if you want to.
Oh, of course.
I'm like, which part?
I guess it's just kind of like, let me see. Sorry, I just need to like find the.
Oh no, I can throw some questions at you while you find yourself, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So Issa, I don't know who they are. They're in the chat. And they're asking about the symbolism of Novae, because I think that is, you have a lot of languages you're working with in Novae, and one of them is the symbols and metaphors that you're working with, both physical and otherwise. Can you touch on that? Is this coming from research because of, the time period, or what?
Sorry, like the symbolisms as in
Well, symbols specifically
in-
is what Issa's talking about, like as in
symbols.
yeah, symbols themselves.
Oh, like on their pins, or like
Yes,
or
like
just symbolism, or
both, but symbols specifically is what Issa was talking about. I'm happy to hear both.
Oh, okay, but okay, I see. So I guess when it comes to the stars, I think Kate should talk about the stars more.
wait, what?
because you're like the astronomy person.
You mean in terms of symbolism?
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
Gosh. I feel like there's more symbolism later on. Like, I feel like the stars symbolize more later in the arc
Mm-hmm.
and more in the other arcs.
I mean, we did hint to what it kind of symbolizes in the 4th chapter, I believe.
Oh, right.
At the end, where they were hugging.
Right. So at the end of chapter 4, like, you kind of that's the kind of point where they had already kissed, and Sylvain is considering having a relationship with Raziel. And then you see there's a little panel of 2 stars, and it goes back to like the title of the comic, Novae. Novae is like a nova within a double star system, or a binary star system.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it's just kind of about the start of their relationship, like how they kind of like interlocked. They're now a binary star, I guess.
Aw, that's wonderful.
And so I guess that's the most blatant symbolism I could think of for at least for this part anyway.
Yeah.
This part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it's a story about how they are together, and sometimes they're apart, but they're mostly like it's about their bond, I guess, and how it changes and how it evolves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess when it comes to things like butterflies, I guess when we first used that as like a part of the magic system, I kind of just thought that I wanted something different when it comes to the magic system of Novae. I think it's just most of the time we're used to maybe like incantations or probably just incantations and wands and things like that. But in Novae, I want magic to be something that's really deeply personal. Something that's creative and something that you explore. So that's why for Vivi, she uses insects as her source to channel magic. And I guess I didn't really give it like really deep thoughts as to why.
As to symbolism.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to symbolism, I feel like we don't really use a lot of universal symbols. I think all the symbolism that happens in the story is very specific to the story. Like, say if something appears earlier in the story and then appears later in the story, you can have a certain type of symbolism related to that character or that object or something. But it's not like, I guess, you know how sometimes you'll use, like, what are some examples you can think of, like symbolism in normal stories? Like, I guess symbols that get used a lot in different stories in the more universal language of symbols. I guess we don't use that as much.
Well, I mean, there are some symbols that show up commonly. I mean, there's common ones like, X to mean no. But
Right.
but I feel like what you're meaning is like the Minotaur to mean strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those sort of symbols that have they're so deep that you kind of like intrinsically know them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's part of it.
I mean, we do use one thing.
Oh, yeah?
The Phoenix pin.
Oh, right.
Yep.
So Phoenix rise from ashes. There's a
You cut out again. Can you repeat?
pen, which is a.
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
No, it's
Hi,
okay.
are we back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay. So the Phoenix pen carries that traditional symbolism, and Sylvain's pen, that's a chrysanthemum,
Mhm.
which is a death flower,
Uh-huh.
I believe,
Yeah.
in probably French and Asian culture.
Yeah. Oh, we do use a lot of flowers for symbolism.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And later on, there is like a little story tied to death and flowers that
Oh, yeah.
like I wish I can get to at one point in my life.
We keep spinning all these stories, all the side characters. I'm like, we don't have room to put this in the main story.
Well, in the chat, someone asked about the image of the sky as a blanket covered in gemstones. Is that a symbol from somewhere else or something that you've invented?
No, it was. It's actually the way that people saw the sky back then, like back in the like for that.
Yeah.
They used to
back in the what? You cut out.
Gems. Yeah.
Just back then, like back in medieval
Oh.
times, back before medieval times, like
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
before
even during their time period as well. I think during the 1600s, I think most common people saw it that way. I think.
Yeah, and I just thought it was. I think I read it somewhere. I can't find that article anymore. It just like mysteriously disappeared,
Oh, yeah.
and I felt like I'm just hallucinating. Like I read it somewhere, and but it was just such an interesting imagery to us, and it was just kind of like, oh, it's so interesting to think that people didn't really think of the sky as like what we thought of it nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, but it was like those are gems, and they're just kind of sprinkled on there.
Yeah.
It's just kind of romantic.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And another chat question was about the mysterious death woman. Is that a myth? Is that something? Is it inspired by myth?
I mean, that's.
Oh, me?
Yeah,
Okay.
for you.
I guess I was kind of coming up with different concept for death.
Mhm.
The personification of death,
Mhm.
at least. So I'm just kind of taking stuff from everywhere. I guess like mostly, probably mostly Greek mythology at this point.
But the concept of death having a persona or different personas, like, how did you?
Well, I've heard, I've definitely
wanted to do.
Oh yeah, like, because I do think that there are some personifications of death that have mixtures of like skeletal parts and like flesh, right? Not to say that you are directly calling to that, but like that is a very striking image. You do use some fate, like the fates from Greek concepts, and there's the fields of wheat, but it feels like there's a lot of influences coming in at that with that image, rather than just plainly Greek, including your own inventions and the interesting things you're adding.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to that, the other world and death, as a character and as like mythology and stuff, I think definitely I kind of try to just pull everything together, maybe like even unconsciously influenced by, because there's a lot of things in like the Greek mythology of death, and like actually the death realm and a lot of other cultures that kind of overlap in different ways. So I guess it's sort of just like a mixing pot of everything together, but also I want it to be something independent, and not drawing to like a specific culture. Because the death in this case, right now, in this time period, she's like a Chinese, well, she was like a Chinese concubine.
Oh yeah.
So the realm itself kind of transcends a different culture, that like no matter what culture you're from, you can still come in to this realm. I guess is kind of what we're thinking.
That's
when
really cool.
When it comes to creating that realm.
Yeah. Because I mean, from my familiarity, I know that some versions of Greek death, like really earlier versions, was just a place you could go to, the same way that you can like go to Taco Bell. And and like that feeling, I feel like you really capture that feeling of like, this is a place you could find somehow. It's just like Sylvain is able to find it, but not many people are, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's a very special place where necromancers can.
Yeah, like if only necromancers, I think, can go between the worlds.
Yeah.
Like if you die, you're just kind of like
there.
You go there.
Yeah.
And a necromancer might be able to bring you back, but the necromancers are the only ones who can go freely between that realm and the realm of the living, I guess.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's so cool. We have 3 things left on. There were 2 questions, and then you wanted to touch on the world of Novae a bit.
Oh, it's okay. I think I think we pretty much covered it. With that last question.
Oh, awesome. Because like that is
what do you think? I mean, Jen, what do you think?
Oh, what I think? Yeah, I think we're good.
Is there any? Because someone did
ask. A lot of the things I can't really reveal right now.
Oh, you can't?
Oh, because it's kind of like a spoiler.
Oh, okay.
So I think it'll be revealed pretty quickly within the, because we're almost coming to the end of the first arc, which is where there will be a climax and more revealing of the world and its workings and stuff. So I guess we'll just kind of wait till that happens.
Perfect.
I mean, I do see a question about how long Novae is planned to go on.
Yes, that's what I was about to ask. Yeah. Do you have a plan?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm like,
you don't need to
talk about it.
Oh, absolutely. If we can move on to the next question, you could just say yes, and that's all you need to say. Or you could just be like, I don't know, and then we could still move on.
I mean, it's so. The preliminary plan for Novae is probably at least 3 or 4 arcs.
I think at least 3 arcs.
At least 3 arcs, if not 5. I'm thinking 3 to 5 arcs. So we're at the end
of the first arc.
We're almost at the end of the first. I mean, there's still a lot of things that's going to happen, but we're about 2/3.
2/3 of the way. I guess about
of the
maybe
first
a little
arc.
bit more than that.
And then we have like maybe 2, maybe 4 more.
Gotcha. I don't know. Like, I mean, we have definite spots where it can end, but it's just if we decide if we're going to end it there or if we're going to end it later in the. I guess it's just one of those stories that just
we can go on.
We can go on and on.
And
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just looking at the another question if Novae's going to be available in graphic novel format.
It's like, yes, we want to. And by the way, hi, Amy. But, we want to. The first book is already complete on the website.
We're smack in the middle.
We're smack in the middle of the second book. Yeah.
So we're thinking of maybe releasing it together once it's done.
Yeah, either we'll do both books or we'll do one and then another one a year
Year
later, or
later.
maybe half a year later.
Yeah, so
Not sure.
so the thing is, like, the last part of Novae and so last part of it might be, or the first arc, last part of the first arc
Yeah.
might be a book on its own
Yeah, I
at
guess
this point.
we're just deciding if we're just deciding how many books the first arc is. It's either 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah. So we're definitely working on it, and we're planning to perhaps release it together.
Yeah.
When we're done fixing up some of the pages.
Yeah.
Because we want to go back and fix up some of the earlier pages.
Yeah.
Awesome. The final question that we had from the chat, and then I have a question to close us out with. Is there any Easter eggs that you want to tell the audience about that the chat about, of like anything that is like a reoccurring joke internally? Because this world seems so full. You have like your own concepts here, or is it just the lizard?
I'm
thinking. Nothing comes to mind.
Like Easter eggs.
I like the lizard. We should have more lizards.
Can maybe you could do a poll and see how popular the lizard is, and maybe the lizard can return.
Yes.
I guess I can't think of any.
Yeah, I can't really think of.
I mean, I might think of it later and be like, oh yeah,
there was that one thing.
You should post about it. If you do, just post on Twitter or something.
Oh, there is an Easter egg that would it be an Easter egg? Would it count if it like refers to another thing?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So.
Okay, so on Death's mantle,
right.
She has a little Greek statue of Apollo.
Yeah,
I believe. So that's related to the origin of death.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of Easter egg. I don't know when we'll like touch up on it, but like it's there.
I guess Sasam as a character is sort of an Easter egg to another story as well.
Yeah, which I kind of want to just address Granted's question real quick. Granted. Okay. Sorry, I'm just kind of reading the question real quick.
Someone's asking about the cat's cameo?
Oh, cat's cameo?
Yeah.
Oh, like our cat? Did we ever put Woo in there?
With them as cats. Because we did that too.
Oh, well, that's just a little...
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, Spark's cat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did a little intimate sketch.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. So we did that Q&A on the Discord, and there we talked about how we were originally going to make it with one of my characters. Like, you suggested the crossover.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you suggested the crossover with one of my characters, and I was like, well, magic is too different. I don't know if I want to do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we got far with that.
No, we didn't really get that far with Sasam and...
Yeah. I don't think we didn't even start, because I was just like, nah, it's too different.
Yeah, because Kate is pretty protective of, like, her other stories. So, yeah.
But we ended up including Sasam anyway. So, just not as the crossover, so.
Yeah.
Did we touch on the other question that you were looking at?
Was there another question we didn't see?
Yeah, you were reading a question before I asked about the cat's cameo.
Oh, that's the one that we just...
that we just...
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, yeah. So I think we're good.
Gotcha. So, so I feel like it's a good time to start wrapping up. Thank you so much for giving me so much of your time, and for talking so much.
Thank you so much for putting this together.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone for coming too.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming to the chat.
Absolutely.
We're so happy to see all your names there.
Yeah.
And so my final question before I ask for your details, if you could take Raziel and Sylvain and drop them into any other genre or setting, where would you put them?
Oh gosh. I feel like Novae kind of satisfies all my needs for dropping them into different genre.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm not saying it would improve it. It would more likely be funny.
No. I mean, it's kind of like a spoiler because it gets pretty crazy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I want to come up with something.
Yeah. I mean, what are the dramas that we haven't covered in Novae?
I like horror.
Yeah, there's horror.
There's horror. There's like a cheesy horror
B movie.
Like an 80s like horror B movie.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really funny.
Yeah.
We could put them in We Bought a Zoo or a situation like that, romantic comedy.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
I feel like they're
romantic comedy works too.
It would be so cute. Because I really like how you two have written these characters and their relationship building and everything, and I'm super excited to see where Novae goes next.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
When we as we wrap up now, can you tell the audience where to find you?
Yeah. So you can find us at novaecomic.com.
Or find us on Twitter.
On Twitter, I think it's KAIXJU.
So KAIXJU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And Ren is in the chat, putting links for everybody if they're interested. But thank you so much for helping end out this stream event that we did. It's been so great talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's been great. Thanks so much.
Too, and thank you so much for inviting us.
Yeah, it was really fun.
On this event.
Absolutely. So we are going to head out. So we will see everybody.
Oh, one thing. There's also a Discord.
Oh, there's also a Discord. Shout out to our Discord. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Oh.
No, it's fine.
And studio mode. Okay, here we are. They should be able to hear us again now.
Oh, okay.
What?
Hi. Sorry. Dropping in again. Just we want to shout out to the Discord. And thank you so much to Granted and Bree for running the Discord. So it's, let me pull it up real quick.
You have to go to it. Actually, Granted, could you put the link in
there?
there?
Put the link in there.
Yeah, put it in the chat.
It's called the Novae Galaxy.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, put the link. That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, I think it's gonna capture it. So one of you two should do it because we have mod rules set up to not allow links right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
So post that in the chat.
Right. So
sorry about that.
All right. I guess we can do that. Yeah.
How do I do that? I'm stupid.
Oh no.
Discord's stupid.
It's okay. I got it.
Okay. I mean, I have it on. Do I just paste it?
Yeah.
I think you have to go into the invite.
I'm
But I guess we could just put that in afterwards.
I think we should do it now because they're gonna close.
They're gonna close it off.
Oh, yeah, we're closing off, and
Okay.
And we're
got
doing
it.
good. We're done. People can head out if they want to, but it's nice to put it in the chat for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't find it. But, I will put it on. I'll put it in our Twitter.
Yeah, follow them on Twitter, and they'll post it again.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter. We will link it there.
We'll link it there, and yeah. Sorry, we're really
scatterbrained.
I'm really bad at Discord.
No problem. No, and I am so thankful. Like, it is a very stressful week, very stressful time, and for you to give us this much of your time I'm really thankful. Thank you.
Well, thank you too.
Yeah, thank you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for putting this together. It's so wonderful.
Oh, you're welcome, but also thank you. So, I am going to, I'm going to stop the stream in a little bit, and then I will see everyone later. Goodbye.